Portugal's president has just said what most of Europe has only dared to whisper. Donald Trump is a Russian asset. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa stood before a crowd of young activists in Castelo de Vide and dropped the kind of line that makes diplomats wince and ordinary people lean forward. He said, quote, "The supreme leader of the world's greatest superpower is objectively a Soviet or Russian asset. He functions as an asset." Now, that's not language you usually hear from a European head of state, especially not from Portugal, a country more often seen on the margins of Europe's great power debates. But that's exactly why it matters. Why now? Just a few weeks ago, Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska. It was supposed to be a peace summit. What we got instead was a spectacle. Putin, a man wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, smiling as if he were the guest of honor. There was no ceasefire, no breakthrough. The only thing that came out of it was Trump scolding Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and accusing him of dragging out the war. That's not how an ally talks. That's how Moscow talks. And Europeans are noticing. This isn't new. From the start of Russia's invasion in 2022, Trump called Putin savvy and a genius. He's condemned some of Russia's brutal missile strikes, yes, but he's also supported so-called peace plans that would hand Moscow Ukrainian land in Donbas and recognize the annexation of Crimea. In exchange, Trump promises that the United States would guarantee Ukraine's security, but only outside NATO. In other words, exactly the deal Putin wants. Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa didn't invent the accusation, but by saying it out loud, by putting it in plain words, he broke the diplomatic code of silence. And here in Portugal, people weren't shocked. Marcelo is known for this. He is not a man of polished diplomacy. He is a man who hugs strangers in the street, answers reporters without scripts, and often speaks more honestly than politicians are supposed to. Many Portuguese admire him for that. They know he says what he thinks, and in this case, he said what many believe is true. Of course, not everyone approved. Portugal's far-right party, Chega, went on the attack. Their Euro MP, Tanga Correia, said Marcelo had crossed a red line and that his words had no credibility. But let's be clear. This is the same party that idolizes Trump. Their outrage only shows how deeply the remark cut. The real question is, why was it Marcelo who said this, and not the leaders of Europe's great powers? Why not Paris or Berlin? Why not Brussels? Germany has reason to be cautious. It still carries the economic scars of losing Russian gas and is trying to shield its industries from Trump's tariffs. France, under Emmanuel Macron, talks endlessly about strategic autonomy, but rarely dares to provoke Washington openly. And Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels prefers coded language, careful words, never blunt accusations. So Europe stays quiet, out of fear of Trump's wrath, fear of his tariffs, fear that he will finally pull America out of NATO, fear of being left alone in a world where Moscow and Beijing are building their own order. But fear cannot be Europe's strategy. History should remind us of this. In the 1930s, leaders explained their silence about fascism as pragmatism or realism. They thought careful diplomacy would keep the peace. Instead, silence brought them catastrophe. Today, when Europe stays quiet about Trump's tilt toward Russia, we risk repeating that mistake. Marcelo's words broke that silence. He forced the issue onto the table. Now, the choice is ours. Do we continue whispering in corridors, hoping Trump's games are only theater? Or do we finally say out loud what is plain to see? The American president is tilting toward Moscow, and Europe must prepare itself. Maybe it took Portugal to say it first. Maybe it takes a president at the end of his career with nothing left to lose to speak with this kind of honesty. But one voice is not enough. Europe must decide, will it be a continent of whispers or a continent of strength? Because if not now, when? If you like this video, tell us in the comments. Should more European leaders speak out like Marcelo did? Or should they keep quiet and hope for the best with Washington? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and visit westernrelations.com for more analysis on Europe, America, and the shifting global order. Thank you for watching.